Hi everyone, my name is Zoe and I am an artist here on YouTube. So that's right, I'm an artist. I'm not a colouring book channel, but there's a reason why I'm doing this. I am a little bit rusty with markers and I want to practice my shading. So I thought I would do another video, because this is my second colouring video, showing you how I blend my colours and doing a little bit of a description on how to do it. Because I know from talking to people, not that many people know how to do it, or they're a bit frightened to try because I think it's going to be really difficult. And it is a new technique to learn, but actually it's not that bad when you know, like, you've worked out that technique. So first of all, what you want to do for a good blend is to start off with your lightest colour. It's going to be red for the roof. It's a mushroom. So my lightest red on this part, I am covering the whole part in, despite the fact that the bottom's going to be darker. Now the reason why I do this is that it makes the blend easier to do. You're not going to get a harsh line between the colours. That's not to say that you cannot blend out a harsh line. You can, but it can be difficult, and actually some markers are better than blending than others. I'm using a Hoo-Hoos here. They're actually really good for blending. It does also depend on the type of nib, so it's a lot easier to do a seamless blend with a brush tip. Not so easy with, say, a chisel or a bullet. It's not to say you can't do it, you can. But you see, I went over the top, and that has created quite a nice blend there. So I wasn't being too careful either. You may have noticed that I have gone over the lines a few times on the white spots. I don't really care about that. I'm just trying to get colour down, and I'm going to put acrylic marker over the top. So it doesn't actually matter, I can correct that later. So this pen I'm using now is it's not an Hoo-Hoo, it's a Copic. If you don't know, Copics are like the Rolls Royce of the alcohol markers. They are very expensive and I don't have many of them. I tend to use a few brands. A Hoo-Hoo is the one I have the most of. I do have a few Copics, but I don't use them too often. This pen is 15 years old and it is still working. So it does show you that actually, spending the money is good, but you actually don't need to. But, these are the good quality pens 15 years later, through being stored correctly, it is still going. So again there, I've put my base layer down, and now I'm basically flicking the brush, starting at the top where I want it darkest, and then flicking down so the brush is coming off the page as I flick. This is creating like a feathered effect. Then I'm going to come in and I'm using that lighter colour again to blend that out. So when you are doing your blends, you start with your lightest colour, go in with your darker colour, and then feather out or blend out with your lighter colour. And at the bottom you can see I've come in with an even darker colour, flicked that out to create like your feather effect, and then I've gone on with the mid-tone that I used to blend that into the mid-tone. It's as simple as that. They're not like using pens that you would just colour in with if you want to blend. They don't just blend easy. Like it's not obvious how to do it. I found alcohol markers incredibly difficult when I first started using them. But basically, like, I do try to do quite a lot of different blending effect, quite different areas of blending here, and it is all the same principle. I can blend without doing that. It takes a lot longer, but I didn't really start learning with brush tips. They were quite uncommon when I first got markers. So my Copics had them, but I actually mainly was using pro markers. There weren't that many pro markers with a brush tip at the time, so I was using a chisel and a bullet nib, and I learned with that way. The flick technique does work with a chisel, but it's a little bit more fiddly to do, but you can do it. It just takes a bit more patience and practice. My greens, I've used 3 to 4 different greens on this piece, but it is exactly the same technique. You just really have to make sure that you're going between the colours to blend them out. You cannot blend out with a dark colour. It's always going to be your lighter tone that does it, so just bear that in mind. So I've finished the thing. I'm going for the background now, and a mistake happens. my phone ran out of memory. So ignore that right hand side. This is what I did. I covered that entire layer, like I said before, with my lightest colour. If you're interested, this is R24, the Copics. And now this other colour I've gone in, it's not a purple, it's a pink. But because they're a similar shade, a similar hue, tone, whatever you want to call it, a tone, I think, they will blend together quite nicely. And then the rest of the colours in the blend are in the pink range. The top colour was quite different, even though they're next to each other on like the number scheme that they put on them. So it's not a perfect blend. I probably could have done a better blend, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to put stars over the top, so there was no point like trying to do it, like, because I could have been there all night. Another thing you'll notice is I did put tape round, but the markers will bleed over the tape. The reason why I do this is that I will just use, you see I'm using the white pen like I mentioned earlier. I'm using the white pen to neaten up. I will do that eventually with the sides. It just kind of gives me a guide of where the straight lines should be, so I can actually physically see what needs to go and what doesn't, rather than just eyeballing it when I'm doing the background. And as well, it means I don't have to be so careful when I'm doing my blending. I can just concentrate on blending and not so much where I'm putting the pen. But yeah, I've finished with the alcohol markers now, and I'm just going over. These are Copic's new, I think it's called Acrea. They're an acrylic paint in a pen. Very popular art supply, acrylic markers, very versatile. I use them a lot in my mixed media work. They're really great with alcohol markers and colour pencils. I don't use colour pencils on this, but I think in future I'm going to try and add colour pencils into these when I'm doing my practicing. But I just, with this piece, I wanted to go and see how far I could kind of push it. So although I'm adding acrylic marker now, I'm going to get the brush pen out in a minute, and I'm going to, so brush pen, you'll see it is a Tombow Fudenosuk brush pen in a hard nib. It comes in a hard or a soft nib. And the soft nib is great, but I'm using the hard nib because it gives smaller, like it's easier to control if you want to do smaller lines, but I would use both of them interchangeably. But yeah, there's a little bit more control, especially when you're trying to be quick with the hard nib. But I'm just going to put in some, like, basically the highlights that are going to go with the lines I'm going to put over the top. They're done. So this is the brush pen. This is one of the best brush pens you will ever find. People rave about these. They come in a 2-pack, one hard nib, one soft nib, and they're about £8. I've seen them anywhere between £5 and £8 on Amazon. They last ages. They're really, really good pens. I definitely recommend them. I've used a lot of fine liners, and these are some of my favourites. And I spend a lot of time just putting extra details in because these are very simple colouring book pages, but they are very flat, so I feel like they need a lot extra details. And I've seen a lot of people who do colouring books, add details with gel pens and stuff. I've used gel pens on a couple of colouring book pages that I've done. This one I'm just using acrylic marker though. But I do spend, like, this actually took me quite a long time considering I didn't draw the piece. I think I spent about an hour and a half on it, and for me to spend that long on something I haven't drawn is, not that I do it very often, but I think like the other pieces are taking me like half an hour to do. I spent a lot longer on this, just sort of like noodling around with it and sticking lines here and there and putting some fake wood effect in on those panels there, just giving it a little bit more pizzazz. I think that's nearly finished. Okay, so I decided I was going to do these massive starbursts. Now, they're not as big as I had intended them to be, but I was worried as I was doing this first one that they were a mistake, but ultimately it didn't matter. It's just a colouring book. Doesn't matter if I hate it. My intention was not to do, I'm just embellishing it. My intention is to practice the alcohol markers. But I just wanted to see where I could go with it. I didn't want to stop. I was having a nice time. I did have to do I think I did 2 coats with this marker and then decided I wanted a lighter one, so I went over with another yellow, which is an Artex acrylic marker, so it's a different type. These are like a sharper nib with the Artex or a brush. Then I'm putting some white stars in. I love doing stars. Carrying them in everywhere. You don't have to do stars like this. You can do like dot ones. You can do all sorts of different shapes for stars. These are my preference, to do these and dots. And another thing I like to do, quite not just in the colouring book but artwork as a whole, is to outline it to make it stand out more from the background. I don't do it with everything. It really just, it does depend on the piece, but I did it here. And then you can see that I was just neating up those lines. I've now got nice straight lines. And now I'm going in and adding more stars. So we're pretty much getting to the end of the piece. I just wanted to make it look busy, like it was a finished piece rather than just something that was overly basic. Just having fun really. Lots of stars everywhere. I think I'll put some pink ones in a minute. Oh, there we go. There's that other yellow. It looks a lot different on camera. I was much happier with this yellow, but I do as well. I kind of wanted to make it more yellowy because that was quite an orangey yellow. It's because I wanted to put an orange outline on them. As I was looking at the orange and the yellow together, and I was thinking that would look really good. So I decided to take them off the shelf and do that. Here we go, pink stars. And what can I say? Have I done too many stars? Probably. What do you think? Have I done too many stars here? Yeah, there was a bit of outline I missed. I'm just going over those stars because they needed a second coat. But actually, this is a really good acrylic marker. Like the white is pretty solid, so I'm happy with that. Another pink star. But yeah, that's basically my technique with, like, it's feathering out. I've been saying for years I'm going to do a full tutorial. I really need to get on with it, but I just wanted to give you like a bit of an explanation of how I do it. So yeah, I hope that was useful. Let me know if you want the full tutorial. Tutorial? Yeah, let me know in the comments. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.